Welcome back. Um, Thanks for joining again. I wanted to do a quick, it's not gonna be that quick, but do a recap of maybe all of April, all of May, and some of the different changes that have happened, some of the different pieces of the challenge, and just kind of capture them in one video. Lots gone on. I've been short on time. I wanted to get out some of those videos on the Bridger watch, which I am still wearing. And because of that, I haven't had a chance to get out some of the other videos when combined with bear hunting stuff like that. I wanted to just do one big update. Um, let's start off with the experience challenge. Still going strong. April was 50 miles of hiking with weight, no specific weight required. I was able to do that, really no issues. The one thing that was hard about it, was challenging about it, was just finding the time to get out and to do that much hiking in the midst of a month, in the midst of other stuff going on. But it was doable. Uh, some days I was able to get out into the mountains. Other days, unfortunately, it was just walking down the street, but was still able to get out and do those things. May has been even a little bit more challenging, time wise. The May challenge was 5 workouts a week. One of those workouts needed to be a strength workout that was given from the EXO team. There are essentially 2 workouts, one that was repeated week 1 and 2, and one that was repeated week 3 and 4. Kind of think functional fitness, high intensity interval training type thing. Um, they were okay. I did them. I would have loved to see a little bit more progression in them. Would have loved to see a little bit more explanation of some of the reason behind the movements. But overall, they went well. The other workout that needed to be done each week was step ups, working towards that June step up challenge. And it didn't necessarily have a lot of parameters, so you could kind of work to your own pace. I specifically, but one of them specifically had to be 1,000 step ups with a 35-pound pack minimum. And so, to be honest, before we started the challenge, so in February and March, I was doing step ups on a pretty regular basis. Before the 50 miles of hiking, I had to put the box aside, pick up, well, I guess not pick up the rucksack instead, but put on the get myself out of the garage, um, for that April challenge, just to complete that. But I had already been kind of working up to that, and so, um, wasn't too bad. The third week, I did that 1,000 steps with 35 pounds. This last week, I started doing, let's see, I did 500, with 45 pounds one day, and actually 50 pounds, and 750 with 50 pounds the day after, just to start getting that used to that, like step ups multiple days in a row type thing. So that's where we are. And then you had to do 3 other workouts a week. It kind of works out to roughly a week. I basically took it as like 12 workouts, uh, 12 additional workouts. And so I did that math, and I think I maybe have a few extra. But things like bear hunting and stuff like that counted, like the hikes that I was doing counted. So that was good. In the midst of that, like I said, I was had 2 bear hunts in the middle of, or in the beginning of May and the end of May. One was just me solo. One was with my kids, with my boys, 6 and 4, and then my dad. Finishing up the challenge, we're pretty much at the end of the month. The other thing is we need to declare a one thing that we're going to work on, one thing that would change us. It was a little bit hard to figure what that one thing would be because there's a lot of one things for me. Something I've been trying to do every day is do push-ups. I've been trying to increase that on a somewhat weekly basis. I'm up to 9 push-ups daily, uh, strict push-ups, if you will. 9 push-ups daily, which I may not sound like a lot, but coming from someone who maybe a year ago couldn't do a push-up, um, 9 in one day and back to back to back to back days. Uh, I'm pretty proud of that. So anyway, that's one thing. 7,000 steps every day is another goal that I'm trying to hit. Shoot my bow every day, even if that's just in here against the bag. Getting a few shots. Ideally, obviously, I'm outside. It's raining today, so and it's gonna be raining the next week. So sometimes that doesn't work. But trying to get shots with the bow. Some other random things: take vitamins, drink water. I try and aim for 200 ounces a day of water, and there's something else in there. 7,000 steps. I'm blanking on the last thing. Um, Push-ups. Anyway, doesn't matter. Um, Now maybe that's everything. Anyway, so I'd already kind of had a bunch of one things I was trying to improve upon, but for the purpose of this challenge, I wanted to add something, not just fall back on one of the things I was already doing. And so I aimed to stick to the alarm that I set the night before. So if I set an alarm and it was going off, my goal was to not hit snooze, to just wake up. I did pretty good. I would say about 80% of the time I followed through and just got up when my alarm went off. Maybe a little bit more than that. I'd have to look at the actual numbers, but there were definitely some days where it's just I was like, why did I set? What was I thinking last night when I set an alarm for 4 a.m. or 3:45 a.m. to get up after a long day doing whatever after just getting back from bear hunting or stuff like that. Like um, there were days that were hard. There's still days. I mean, there were other days that were hard. I found myself having to talk myself out of bed some days. So that was good. It's an important thing. Something that has definitely been a thing I've needed to work on during elk season. Is getting out of the tent, getting out of the sleeping bag, even when it's cold, and putting on the clothes, starting out walking. So something that was needed. Um, Overall, the challenges have been good. Have been time has been the biggest commitment out of them. Uh, I was already aiming to ruck more, so April helped with that. May, was a little bit of a different transition, but most of those other 3 days in the week were rucks and or hikes for hunts. So, you know, wins in my book. Um, Speaking of the bear hunt, I'll splice in a few takeaways from that recap. It's about 3 a.m. Heading out, heading out bear hunting. Short trip. It's only going to be the weekend, long weekend. I guess it's Friday. I have no idea what to expect. This trip has been a little bit wild. It was originally planning on hunting bear in my elk unit. Um, that was closed down. Um, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, it was closed down. So I had to pivot. Then we got weather. We got weather this last weekend. Um, we were down here covered in snow and stuff like that. So we'll see what it looks like. A couple hours away and not too, and a lot higher up. All right. At the truck. Getting ready to set out. Man, I did not expect this pack to be this full. I'm wearing even one of my layers right now. But yeah, got here maybe 20 minutes before light kind of got set.
pulled out the target, waited for light to kind of fully set in, and pulled out the bow and shot a little bit. And start our hike and start getting back into where we want to. We're at a gate, so gotta walk back there. Just a little deep. Probably not even the deepest area. All right, got camp set up. Let's see. Do another video in the morning. Ended up doing about 6 miles today. Hunting bear. Got into some decent snow. Yeah, no bears. A couple mule deer. That's about it. Camped down by a creek. It's probably going to lead to some condensation, and it to be colder down here. But I was out of water, and it was either that or go back over to where there's snow and melt snow. So here we are. All right, so there's the tent again. A little bit of sagging in the night. Kind of probably to be expected. Did have condensation, but it all froze. So you know, kind of works out, to be honest. This spot was not as flat as I was hoping. That's probably my biggest thing I need to figure out is, it's like I'll pick a spot and then like, oh, that'll be good enough. And then you get on that slippery pad and it's not as flat as you thought. Not terrible sleep for, considering that. Otherwise, I was tired, so I fell asleep. I'm gonna get coffee going here and start packing up.
Ultimately, what it comes down to is that thing of, I just need to learn how to hunt bears more. It's probably going to be more time in the field, figuring out some different spots, and figuring out how to react to the snow line, because I felt not very good at doing that right now. But it's learning, and it's getting out there, and so that's always the goal for me. Bear hunting with kids. There was a lot of truck hunting, not as much walking as I would have really hoped, but it was good to get them out. It was pretty challenging. It was actually, comparatively, this last bear hunt, I would argue, was the most physically demanding hunt that I've done. And so that was the bear hunt solo. I did 6 miles one day, 7 miles another day. I can't remember the elevation of those days, but there was some decent elevation. No, I'm sorry. 6 miles one day, 6 or 7 miles one day, 9 or 10 the next day, and then maybe the last day was light. I don't fully. Oh yeah, that was like 3 or 4. But some of those hikes were 3 miles or 2 miles in hip deep snow and stuff like that. So and some of hip deep snow and crawling over deadfall, which seems to be an oxymoron, but like you'd be hip deep, you crawl up on over the deadfall, and then drop down into thigh or hip deep snow on the other side. Um, so it was tough. It was tough hiking. The toughest that hiking that I have done, I think, on any hunt. And ironically, hunting with the kids was possibly harder. Um, it was just trying to manage, be the one making the plan, be the one coordinating everything, making sure that everyone has their stuff packed and things ready for the day, getting out in a reasonable time for us to like see things, trying to put us into a place of being successful, trying to be the motivator and make sure that they're like pushing themselves a little bit. Like I said, we did not hike as much as I would have really wanted us to. Um, and I came home from that hunt exhausted. Um, it was good. It was super helpful that my dad was there. Um, I'll splice in some pictures. We did see a bear, so with my hunt, I didn't see my solo hunt. I didn't see any bears. We saw not only saw some bears running across the road and stuff like that, but had a shot at a bear. We missed. I'll drop in that video. But overall, it was good. It was tough, and it made me realize that I probably won't plan a hunt where I'm taking out both of them with just me for a little bit. Like I don't know that we're quite there yet. Um, maybe needs a couple more years to take out two, but one on one and camping. The hunt with them was a hotel hunting from a hotel and stuff like that. Just to not also add being in grizzly country and trying to just manage camp living and some of the challenges that come with that on top of everything else. That was a good call. Hey, which means just a few more weekend trips. Oh no. Those are some of the big updates recently. In the midst of the other, I guess the one other thing, and I'll incorporate some of the pieces here. In the midst of my first bear hunt, I also did the experience challenge backpacking challenge. Um, I owe y'all a spreadsheet walkthrough of the gear that I took. Maybe I'll do more of instead of doing like a spreadsheet. I don't know. I'll think about it if it's more interesting to actually pull out all the gear and like walk through it and stuff. I don't know. I don't feel like any of it's that revolutionary, and I feel like it's maybe more interesting to see on the sheet. But who knows? We'll see how we approach that. Anything that was a new change, the Vivobarefoots have been I've been a fan of. They have been working well. No blisters. Feel like I have more traction than any other boot that I've worn for a while. That the ability for my foot to just like I to pivot my ankle and use my whole foot to support myself on different things feels like I have had that helps with that traction. Maybe it's all in my head, but overall they have been a great change. The EXO pack that is new, and I have really liked that for someone of my size who is not at the weight that I would want to be ideally. The extra cushioning, the type of foam that they seem to be using in those shoulder harnesses and hip belts seem to be holding up a little bit better to the tight cinching that I need to do to get things kind of fitted right and not super loose, which is just not something I've seen in some of the other packs. Um, so far, using Aquatabs has been a good change. Only tested on the bear hunt, so we'll see. We'll see how that works in as we move into elk season. but it felt like I was able to move a bit faster, definitely faster than using the squeezes. And that I don't know, man, that stuff took forever from my perspective. Even trying to like pre-filter water and stuff like that, or use clean water, like it still took a good 20 minutes to fill up a couple liters. It seemed like, um, and everything else seemed like to be mostly little changes. So I'm not gonna necessarily go into that here, but overall was a good trip. Uh, Learned a lot as far as the actual hike out and that morning and just like how snow is behaving in some of those areas, even when it's fully melted on one side and not necessarily on the other, and how deep that can be. And I think that's it. I think that's kind of the update for right now. Looking to June, we will be uh, looking towards those 1,000 step ups, 5 days in a week, or 5 days straight. We don't have the full details of the June challenge. I have my 24 and 24 challenge on the schedule, and we'll be doing that. There's a little bit of prep that I need to do to make sure that path is walkable. So I'll need to hike part of it, make sure the river hasn't washed it out and doesn't make that completely terrible. If not, I need to maybe find a different thing. 24 miles in 24 hours is going to be hard enough. I don't need to add anything else for this trip. That is the longest I've ever walked by far. Um, and the shooting challenge, I'm going to try and work in here in maybe one of the upcoming camping trips or something like that we do, or maybe just get away for a day or something like that. I think those are the updates. There's a lot, and hopefully, I was able to pack it all in, not forget anything. Hopefully, it's interesting to follow along. Thanks so much for watching. As always, if there's any questions, comments, drop them in the comments. I'd love to respond and engage in that way. Like, comment, subscribe, and catch you next time.